Alrighty, welcome back to episode 4 of the scorecard. I quit my job recently. Good news is that I had already accepted a new job, and that's why I quit the old one. So I've had a couple weeks off and a lot of time to reflect on everything that's gone down and what I've learned even in these 2 weeks of not having a career over my head. The first thing is that active patience is necessary to make the right move in your career. So I say active patience because it's kind of a balance, For me, with my journey with my career, it was over a year ago that I started considering doing something different. And there were doors that seemed open that got slammed in my face. There were a lot of twists and turns and just things that were thrown at me that I didn't know how to deal with it. And at the end of the day, I think that the biggest thing is that I just had to wait. There was a lot of stuff outside of my control that I just needed to be patient about. If I had made the choice to be impatient and make rash decisions, quit my job before I knew what I would do after that, or I even considered going back to school and studying something completely different, which would have ended up leaving me in a lot of debt and probably still looking for answers at the same time. And so I learned a lot in needing to be patient and trusting in God's plan for me. But at the same time, there's still always things that you can do. And I think at the very least, if you're in kind of this moment when you think that there's a lot of stuff outside of your control and you just have to sit and wait, at the bare minimum, you can always just be working on keeping your mindset in a positive place. For me, that looks like prayer. Talking to God as much as I can. I believe that, Jesus is my savior. And so if he's the one that I'm worshiping, I should be talking to him. At the very least, just spend time knowing where your head's at and not letting things spiral out of control in your old noggin. That's something that I have had issues with a lot. It's just starting to have negative thoughts and just letting it spiral out of control. That's not a fun place to be. So always take the time to take care of yourself. I think another thing that you can do is knowing when to act. Like if I were to just sit around hoping that my old job was just going to get better, then it wasn't gonna. And so there was a time and place when I needed to start preparing my resume and sending out applications and doing interviews. And that's how I ended up landing my new job, is I had to take action towards it. I was still being patient with it because even that process took a couple months to go through. Just trust the timing of everything, because when you look back on it, you're definitely going to be able to appreciate the process of going through it all and knowing that where you are now is for a reason. For me, I was really struggling with not understanding why all these things were happening to me. But if they didn't happen to me, then I don't think I would be nearly as confident in this next stage of my career that I'm in now, because I did seek out all those doors that closed in my face. When they closed in my face, I reconsidered that door closed on me for a reason, right? And if the door never closed on me and I just, went along and didn't go down that path, I would never know. And those questions would always be up in the air. And so I think with that being said, one of the doors I did consider at one point was doing YouTube full time. I love it as a hobby, and I make, a little bit of money. So I was like, what if I went all in on it and I made it my full-time job? And ultimately I decided, that's probably not the best idea, at least not right now. I'm still very, very small, not anywhere close to doing it full time. But in these couple weeks off, I could play pretend of, what if I did do this full time? On one of the first days that I've had this unpaid vacation, I spent the entire day just creating alone, basically doing what I'd normally do in my free time for the entire day. And by the end of the day, I'd probably worked about 10 hours on a project. It was a little bit too late to, go out and do something active. I didn't have any plans to hang out with friends, which is totally fine. That happens all the time to me. But normally when I'm in that situation, I work on a video or I work on a graphic design project to kind of unwind. And I just spent the entire day doing that. So I was just restless and I didn't know what to do. And so I ended up just working even more hours on a video because I had nothing better to do. And by the end of the night, I was just completely worn out and realized I don't want this to be my career. So I kind of recognized that this dream job that I had in my head was not quite as nice as I imagined it to be. And so it was nice to kind of have that experience. If you have some sort of dream job, maybe shadow someone for an entire day and see what it actually looks like. Or if it's something that's self-employed, like what I just talked about, maybe spend an entire Saturday or a holiday dedicated to just seeing what a day in the life would look like. because I hadn't ever really done that with YouTube. And then when I did, I recognized, oh, I actually enjoy this way more as a hobby than a job. I think also from this time that I've spent away from work is with all this extra free time, I really recognized how the time I spend reflects where my heart is. Matthew 6:21, it's a pretty popular verse. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The currency that we cherish the most is time. So wherever you're dedicating time is where you're dedicating your heart. And so I think that there have definitely been some good things. I have spent time with friends. I've taken care of a lot of responsibilities and been able to do a lot of the hobbies that I love, like golf and like YouTube. But I've also noticed a handful of like bad things I need to work on with my heart. I have spent way too much just like rotting away on my phone. Even with this extra free time, I'm not really spending any more time with God. I always use the excuse of, oh, I'm too busy to read my Bible, or oh, I'm too busy to pray right now. But now that I'm not busy, not that much had changed after the first week or so of not having a job. And so I had to recognize that and start having a little bit more self-discipline with that. But it definitely exposed my heart, and it was good to learn that hey, like, you're going to spend time where you want to spend it. And then there's a couple other smaller things I just want to touch on. One of them is that your mental and physical health is way more important than your performance at work. The last couple months of my old job, I was just starting to feel really bad burnout. It was getting more and more busy by the day at work. And then on top of that, I was going through all of the application and interview process of finding a new job. And so just the stress of both of those things was taking up a much larger portion of my life than what was healthy. And, it starts to get in your head. And then once your mental health is compromised, it's very easy for your physical health to follow. I was used to working out at the gym at least 5 times a week, if not 6. And then that dwindled down to about 3 times a week. And even those 3 times a week, I was kind of putting in half effort, just doing enough to work up a sweat. I wasn't cooking all that much for myself. I was just eating fast food. And so since being unemployed, I've been working on getting back into good routines, eating a little bit healthier, spending time dedicated to my mental and physical health, getting into a better workout routine, and like I was saying, spending more time talking to God and studying His Word. And the last thing is also a very simple thing, is that routines and deadlines are necessary for productivity. Just these last couple weeks, I was, generally speaking, a lot less productive. So I think it's important to recognize that if you are in a spot where you need to have a higher level of self-discipline, write out to-do lists and plan stuff out on a calendar. Do whatever works for you. There's like a million different ways to do it, and there's a million different YouTube videos you could watch to talk about productivity. And a lot of people say, oh, this is the formula that you need. But everyone is different. For me, it's just writing out a to-do list on a sticky note. So then once I'm done with one task, I know what to do next. Because if I don't know what to do immediately after finishing one thing, I'm just going to waste time and I'm going to lose track of everything that is important. As I'm recording this, I start work tomorrow. I am more than excited to start my new job. I think that this time of rest has been a really good restart for me. And so I'm hoping that wherever you are in life right now, that you're excited for whatever the next stage in life is. I hope that just these few things that I talked about today provide at least a little bit of value to you. So thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later. Stay safe out there.